My name is Aramis Hamer, and I'm a visual artist. I really just wanted to share with people what these paintings mean to me, what my inspiration was behind them, why I created them. And I feel that it was super important, especially because of the times that we're living in right now. These pieces were super relevant. Today, I'm at Bellevue Art Museum where the Yellow No. 5 exhibition was installed. It was curated by Tariqa Waters, a phenomenal, incredible artist out here in Seattle, who she actually recently won the Nettie Award, and I'm so honored to be a part of this exhibit with her and to have been invited to be a part of this project with so many other phenomenal artists. I'm sharing with you today my area of the exhibit. I created 3 large-scale acrylic paintings, and I'm super proud of them because your girl made them during a pandemic. Okay, it was real rough. The journey was intense, and I'm just super proud of all of the artists, especially Tariqa. I also just need to acknowledge the fact that this is one day after the George Floyd verdict was announced, where the officer was found guilty on all charges, which is, I'm happy that the police officer is being held accountable. At the end of the day, George Floyd still doesn't have his life. So I just need to acknowledge what's going on right now as I'm filming this piece, in addition to when these pieces were created, because I think it really influences the overall design and how they came together, and really speaks on the inspiration behind the pieces. So without further ado, let me hop into the pieces, starting with my absolute favorite, which also seems to have been a favorite of the community, which is the one I'm sitting right in front of, called Chocolate Milk. It's like, where do I even start? As a visual artist, it can be difficult for me to articulate everything that I'm feeling and everything that I want to express. And so I feel like, with the cliche that a photo is worth 1,000 words, I truly agree. And I feel like she has 2,000 in this piece. One, the scale, I really just wanted to just go big or go home. Kehinde Wiley is a huge inspiration for me. I absolutely love his work. I really wanted to challenge myself scale-wise. I recently had moved into a larger studio, so I was able to create something like this. I talk a lot about music being a huge inspiration for me. If anybody follows me on Instagram, then you know I love the Queen Bee. I love Beyonce. So we have this goddess who is sitting underneath a lemon tree, and she's leaning on this large hay barrel. She has the cow here. She's sitting in a field of poppies. So I was a nurse in my past life. I was a registered nurse. So I actually worked at a hospital on the south side of Chicago, and just saw a lot. From that experience, I learned so much about our Western healthcare system that I really wasn't happy about. So this is really talking about the experiences that Black women go through when it comes down to their birthing experience, how they are treated for pain, how their pain in this world is even acknowledged in general. So I wanted to create this field of poppies, which is the plant that the opioid drug comes from. And so she's sitting in this field where there's just like abundance of opioids, just kind of symbolizing this abundance of pain relief, this abundance of resources that's actually available. But as the Black woman, she isn't able to get access to that. And so she's sitting here with just this small little plant that's right next to her. And one of my favorite parts of this is just really kind of subtle, like her fist is kind of clenched. Now, even when you're sitting on the grass, you're typically sitting with your hand open, where you're just relaxed and comfortable, but you could see she has this stoic look on her face, like she's not even given permission to emote, you know. And if she is emoting, she's either the angry Black woman, or she's loud, or she's crying, or like trying to be a victim, or wants attention, just like all these ridiculous narratives that we assign to women who are speaking up, or who are expressing pain in any sort of way. Yeah, but I wanted her to look still strong though, still beautiful. I feel like I love painting with teal. I use a lot of teal throughout my work, and she has this beautiful, full, like 4C natural hair, okay? Her edges aren't laid. It is rough. It is real how my hair is. And now, if you're familiar with my work, then you know I love painting hair of all textures. I love painting braids. I love laying the edges. But for her, I really wanted her to identify as the brown-skinned Black woman with real rough natural hair. Just really living in this experience where if we talk about the hierarchy of people, this ridiculous hierarchy that our society tries to place on people, then she would be considered to be in the lowest rank. But I also wanted to tie in this cow. I'm super passionate about our planet. We are living in a climate crisis, which is real. So we have this like warm energy connected to global warming, connecting to the changes that's taking place on our planet. This poor treatment of our planet is reflected in the poor treatment of women, particularly the Black women, and also reflected in the way that we treat animals, and especially the cow. When you think about Egyptian history and how the cow was seen as this sacred being, this animal that has so much reverence throughout their culture, similar to the woman when you think about the history of divine femininity and just how sacred the woman is and how in past cultures women did receive so much reverence. So I wanted them to mirror each other. So both of them are purple, both of them have the teal eyelashes, both of them have this stoic look on their face like, really? Really? Is this what's going on? Is this how we're gonna be treated? But at the same time, there's this tear. There's this glitch in the Matrix. And so The Matrix is one of my absolute favorite movies, and it was actually written by a Black woman. And of course, like many things in our culture, it was stolen from her. But The Matrix is a huge inspiration for me. But just also, a lot of my work is connected to higher consciousness and knowing that we are light beings. We are souls having a human experience. This is just our shell. This is just our human experience. So even though she is this Black woman having this rough experience, being handed a field of lemons, trying to make lemonade, trying to find relief in a world that is so abundant that she doesn't have access to. She also knows at the end of the day what her truth is, and her truth is being beyond this entire existence, being connected to our entire collective consciousness as a unit, as a community, as something greater than this world, greater than this planet. She can see behind the curtain. So Tariqa actually pointed this out during the installation of the piece, that this goddess's hair reminds her of Hippolyta in Lovecraft Country. Absolutely love that series. I actually saw it after I created this, so it wasn't even, I didn't even try to do it, but it actually worked out really great. A lot of my philosophies around this world is knowing that even though we are having these human experiences, we are beyond that. So how can we get back to the source? How can we realize that we're actually all together in this interconnected web of existence? And so I was just super excited to be able to show this goddess in this yellow number 5 exhibition, and that's actually connected to why the cow has a tag on her ear which has the number 5 for the title of the show. So let's move on over to Sugar Pill. Oh, Sugar Pill, Sugar Pill. I think this was the piece that gave people the most confusion, which I love. Like, I'm here for it. Part of me doesn't even want to break down every single element. Like, I want you to experience it. I want you to see what you're gonna see without me guiding you in a certain way, but overall I still want the message to be conveyed. So that's why we're here breaking it down. So picking up from chocolate milk, there's this tear in the canvas of our collective consciousness. Now it's time for Alice to go down the rabbit hole. So this is the rabbit hole. And I posted this in the captions of my Instagram, where I talked about the fall of the patriarchy. And that really wasn't even what I was like when I started drafting it, that wasn't even the concept. But as it started to evolve, I was like, yes, I'm with that too. Like, down with the patriarchy. So in addition to down with the patriarchy, I use a lot of chains in my work. I like to be clear about what the chains represent for me, and it's really about breaking the chains. It's not even about chains symbolizing success, which is the common narrative throughout hip hop, which is a huge inspiration for me. Love hip hop, love music, but I'm trying to turn it on its head. It's not about us trying to get a chain to show that we're successful, or trying to accumulate more wealth or accumulate more materialistic things. It's like, how do we have an understanding that we are all connected, we are all linked through this interconnected web of life? At the same time, how can we break free from any limiting beliefs that we have around what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to behave, how we're supposed to show up in the world, what emotions we have permission to emote? And I believe in the other cliche that you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if somebody needs help, how can we reach out to help them? Because it helps us all. A rising tide lifts all boats. So how do we all collectively come together in this linked chain to contribute to overall change? So I just had to go on a little tangent about the chains. But going back to Sugar Pill, with my history in healthcare, I almost can't help but to include references that is connected to our overall physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And so type 2 diabetes runs rampant throughout our community, and it's something that I'm super, super passionate about, sharing information when it comes down to holistic living. Part of the reason that I even moved out here to Seattle was to attend Bastyr University to study naturopathic medicine. I ended up pursuing my art full-time instead, which is my true passion. But health is still super important to me, because I feel like if you don't have your health, you don't have anything at all. Connecting this piece called Sugar Pill with this diabetic reference, but also connecting it to the actual red and blue pill that Neo was offered in The Matrix. And to tell you the truth, I always forget which pill was the rabbit hole and which pill was it. But that's the key of this piece. Really, it doesn't matter, because Neo took the pill and was enlightened and had this whole experience, but Cypher took the same pill and was miserable and wanted to go back in the Matrix. So it doesn't really even matter what pill you take. It matters about your psychology around your experience and how you interpret it. So Cypher interpreted it as him being lied to. He was frustrated, like he was talking to the agents, trying to get back in the Matrix, wanted to be famous, wanted to be like a movie star. But Neo was there to help change the world, the one, right? So when I use the title Sugar Pill, I'm referencing the placebo effect, that you can take one pill and it can have this effect, or not take a pill and you still are impacted by it, because your psychology has impacted your body in such a way that now it starts to change physically. And so when you think about the actual placebo effect, it just reminds us how much power we have mentally and psychologically to change our entire environment for the good or for the bad. So for this, it's like, it kind of doesn't matter what pill you take, the red or the blue. But what was exciting is that a lot of people, I was hearing from a lot of visitors that they were seeing red blood cells, different cells throughout our immune system, which I think is really cool. I mean, of course, as somebody who has a history in healthcare and pathophysiology, I absolutely love that. And this was also created during a time of the election. So you're thinking red, blue, the Democrats versus the Republicans. There was just so much going on where I feel like you can look at this piece during different times of your life and take away different messages. So I think it was really interesting to hear what everybody was saying. But I also wanted to tie in this male figure to this female figure through their clothes. So he's wearing this ivory, this tan khaki pants similar to this ivory and cream dress that she has on too. They're both connected in their experiences. So, and it's also talking about the struggle of the Black man, everything that he's going through as well. I'm super grateful for my husband, James, who helped me install this show, who has just been such a huge support system for me throughout my entire career and throughout, of course, our relationship together. So it's just like seeing what he's going through and just seeing what our entire collective community is going through. Man, woman, non-binary, overall, the messages in this piece is that we are all in this together and we're all experiencing some form of trauma just from this 2020 to 2021 experience that we have been going through. And so he's falling down into this abyss, and he's falling down into the blue section, which connects you to the third piece, which is called Starburst. Starburst brings us home. It brings us back to source. It brings us back to this cosmic galactic space, which I use a lot of elements of the cosmos throughout my work. I love just looking up at the night sky and just knowing that there has to be something bigger than me out there. And I just know that within my being. And so in the midst of the muck, in the midst of the Black woman having this experience and feeling pain and feeling trauma, and in the midst of the climate crisis, in the midst of the lemons and the sugar pill and the placebo effect and the, fall of the patriarchy and the Republicans and the Democratic Party, in the midst of it all, this is the source. This is the home. This is the center of it all. And it's bigger than everything we try to make it seem to be. It's here. I mean, there's really, I think what's so amazing about the divine is that it's truly indescribable. And so this is my visual representation of divinity and source, God, higher consciousness, collective consciousness, ham sandwich, whatever you want to call it. This is my visual interpretation of that. And since the show was called Yellow Number 5, I really wanted to tie in all of the titles to food, because yellow number 5 is a very common artificial dye that is used throughout food, which is toxic to our bodies, but that's a whole other different story. So the 3 titles is Chocolate Milk, Sugar Pill, and Starburst, and I really wanted to tie that in to the show. Last but not least, you have the worker bees. So this was my first endeavor with resin, and I absolutely love them. I love how they turned out. I know some people don't like bubbles in their resin, but actually really like the effect that it made. And so really, this was tying in the message connected to chocolate milk around climate change and the climate crisis that we are in. The bee population is significantly declining every single day. And so this was just reverencing the queens. Queens as in women, also the queen bee, literally. Not Beyonce this time, but literally the queen bee, the honeybees. This is tying in those elements around the planet. We have dry roses and I have dried bees that I got. Some of the pyramids have just the wings of the bees, and some of them, the bees are just pulling at the bottom. There's just a lot of different aspects throughout each different piece, and some of the pyramids are completely empty with nothing in them, sterile and neutral and nothing at all. And that's the last place that we want our planet to get. So it's really just showing like this evolution of what's going on around the climate crisis, and really hoping with more awareness that we can truly make an impact and really try to get ahead of this thing. As a painter, I love to incorporate so many different colors, so I'm super inspired by prisms. This is really just tied into when you see light hitting a prism and then it refracts and the rainbow of color comes out. This is why I had included the prism and the pyramid, but also just like a lot of my stuff is just really connected to sacred geometry as well, and I'm super inspired by Egyptian mythology and just the Egyptian culture. I actually have a scarab tattooed here on my arm, so this is also just acknowledging the ancestors. I feel that there are a lot of messages in the stars, a lot of messages in the pyramids that we haven't even figured out yet, or maybe they don't want us to know. But yeah, so this is also just acknowledging the Egyptian culture, acknowledging the stars, the cosmos, because a lot of the pyramids are synced up with the stars and the planets, and Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you go down the rabbit hole of the pyramids. So these were the ones connected to Earth, the planet, the bees declining, our planet changing, and then we go over to the other prisms that just remind us back to source. Everything is just a reminder. How do we come back? How do we connect to our divinity? How do we connect to the truth of all of us just being on this planet together as human beings, connected to a higher consciousness, where hopefully these physical realms won't cause us to create more suffering in this world. So these prisms over here are truly some of my favorites. And actually the way that I created those was using resin, the same way I was using those for the worker bees, but I also included high flow acrylic paints. And that's how I was able to create the cosmic universal swirls that's in those pieces. Truly some of my favorite. That is going to wrap up my explanation of the artwork that I had up on display during the Yellow No. 5 exhibition. Super grateful again to Tariqa Waters for making this possible for all the artists and for having me a part of this show. Currently, the exhibition is down, so thank you to everybody who took the time and came to visit the show during the pandemic safely. Of course, thank you so much. I appreciate you all for tagging me and sharing and sending me messages. It truly means the world. If you want to know more about what I'm up to, you should follow me at all my socials. I'll link all of that stuff down in the description. And if you want to go the next step and support my work on a deeper level and connect every month and receive bonuses and perks, you can definitely join my Patreon community. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and learning a little bit more about what I do as an artist and what inspires my work. I'll see you all soon. This is weird.